Hello and welcome to a very angry edition of Cyclocosm.com's How the Race Was Won. We'll get to why I'm angry a little later, but first I want to ask if any of you are cycling journalists, or if any of you know some. If you are, pay attention, and if you know any, send this their way, because in addition to showing you how today's race was won, I'm going to remind a few professionals how they ought to be doing their job. Today's event is Liege-Bastogne-Liege, cycling's oldest and most storied race. Its 10 medium-length climbs favor neither featherweight climbers nor thick-thighed one-day specialists. Its 260 kilometers of winding narrow roads require constant vigilance on the part of both teams and riders, and its 500-meter false flat finish can play out in any number of ways. In short, it's the most comprehensive all-around test of abilities for both riders and teams in the sport of cycling. Today's action began with the requisite break, though this time the early selection had the unusual trait of lacking any teammates of the top favorites. At the audacious distance of 98 kilometers to go, Saxo Bank aimed to correct that by launching 2005 runner-up Jens Vogt. He's strong enough that he could actually win out of a day-long break, but not too valuable to risk burning off in the early going. While Vogt's efforts proved ultimately unsuccessful, his sacrifice saved his teammates nearly 40 kilometers of work and forced the pacemaking onto the shoulders of the other favorites. And as Case Deparn leader Alejandro Valverde found out just after a feed zone at 80 kilometers to go, more effort chasing the break can be less effort protecting your leader. As the chase ramped up and the Liège coats took their toll, the break was reduced to a single holdout rider, Quickstep's Dries Devenins, who was swept up by the peloton just before the storied climb of La Redoute, just like a certain analyst predicted. Now, to hear the accounts of many in the cycling media, it was into this maelstrom that Alexander Vinokourov made a dope-addled charge, suspiciously besting the favorites, setting back the cause of anti-doping, and further tarnishing the battered reputation of the sport we all love. While that depiction is great for drumming up populist angst among cycling fans and making us all feel really self-righteous about doping, it's also completely inaccurate. Even if Vino had been doped to the gills, it would have been incidental to his win this past Sunday. His victory was the product of teamwork, tactical savvy, timing, grit, and many of the other unique aspects of a sport called cycling that reporters used to cover. The framework for Vino's win was laid down a few kilometers before his attack, when teammate Maxime Iglinski took over pacemaking from a squabbling peloton and began a pursuit in earnest of breakaway from La Redoute Bram Tankink. The effort all but ended the attacks, with only the perpetually active Sergei Ivanov slipping away, and the hard riding was the perfect springboard for Saxo Bank to finally play the cards it had saved, burning off Vogt earlier in the day. Frank Schleck dug hard to launch his younger brother Andy, and the Belgian favorite Philippe Gilbert jumped immediately to his wheel. This attack quickly gapped and panicked the field, reducing Tankink's margin to dust in a matter of meters. Damiano Cunego tried to respond, but over the top of the climb, only Alberto Contador, Vino's teammate and a pre-race favorite, could make the bridge. While most of the other favorites began burying themselves in a do-or-die chase, Contador's presence in the danger move left Vino free to sit back among the wheels. When he reached the front of the group, he immediately and repeatedly went on the attack. While his first moves were easily marked, they allowed Contador to sit up, and the thought of arrested Contador probably contributed to the Cossacks' escape a few accelerations later. Even after getting clear of the field, Vino didn't power away to the line alone, and waited for the assistance of Ivanov's Katusha teammate and frequent presence in Classics finales this season, Alexander Kolobnev. The pair rode a seamless two-man time trial and built a 20-second gap before the chase behind could materialize. Even after the favorites began a serious pursuit, the effort was disorganized, with Evans, Valverde, and Gilbert breaking clear without a Schleck, Contador marking the Schleck when he finally did break free, and just for added confusion, a bevy of solo attacks. Even Vinokourov's winning move, though canny enough to briefly fool the cameraman, was downright pedestrian. Vino's separation was a deep-dug effort, with Kolobnev threatening to close it down almost up to the final bend. With large groups of riders pouring across the line just after the second group, it becomes apparent how easily the race could have come back together. After defending Vinokourov's performance, I was directly asked by a journalist, what will the mainstream media and sport fans see when they look at today's results? And they should see exactly what I've described here today. A tough, classy, and above all else smart win by a veteran rider who's returned to top form after serving his doping suspension. As far as I can tell, the only reason the mainstream media and fans would miss that is because cycling's professional press are too hung up on their own personal prejudices to report it. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how you do your job.